Hey guys, welcome back to Shareity Speaks. Today we're going to be reflecting on ads and trends from the Super Bowl. Let's address the elephant in the room. Very few ads are addressing our current reality. I was expecting to see more about the coronavirus, the riots last summer, and any of the really current events going on in the world right now. But this year's ad played it safe.
Yeah, I forgot where I heard this quote, but in the past, Super Bowl ads were all about highlighting creativity, originality, just, catching the consumer's eye. Now it's just featuring a lot of celebrity cameos, but I don't think that these big names are a substitute for actual content. In fact, they all start blending together because a lot of the brands even use the same celebrity. I saw John Cena in at least two of those different ads, and some people showed up even more. But a lot, as you said, Tyler, a lot of them are relatively, gentle and safe ads, showing how, Doritos can unflatten Matthew McConaughey is not a really revolutionary or outrageous thing that would be enough to be memorable. This year, it seems all about cutesy and nostalgic ads that sort of look back on the past instead of into the future.
Yeah, I agree. One ad that really stood out to me was Mr. Beast's Honey ad. It seemed more like a YouTuber plug than a really, those expensive ads, but it's a very homegrown ad, and it feels like kind of like a green screen ad almost.
I think actually the fact that it was more organic feeling worked to its advantage. A lot of the other brands were actually referencing popular social media like TikTok, doing TikTok dances on the lawn. But I feel like when you come from a sort of a big brand perspective, it felt very forced and not quite authentic. And especially when you look at the way that they portray it, which is really just TikTok is just singing and dancing to popular music, which is kind of very surface level of that platform. My take is that if they're really gonna go and reference younger forms of media, they should just have online content creators actually create the content for them, or else it doesn't come across as authentic. When they feature YouTubers like Liza Koshy, like Mr. Beast, you should let them have creative control, or the content will still feel very ad executive and not organic to the YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever's own style.
Yeah, another thing I noticed is that there wasn't like many explicit references to the pandemic or wearing masks. The most social commentary type of ad was Jeep's Meet in the Middle advertisement, which called for union, and that was pretty vague.
Yeah, I think the notable exception to the sort of general vagueness that permeated this year was Budweiser, who received an ad referencing that they were redirecting their advertising budget to COVID-19. It's actually very close to the kind of cause line advertising that we work on at Shareity, actually.
It was an interesting move on their part to bring attention to the fact that they supposedly weren't doing an ad. I think it really just defeats the purpose because they probably paid for the ad anyways. Yeah, so Sao, what did you think about the Meet in the Middle ad by Jeep?
I thought that one was pretty interesting, and I mean, obviously now it's taken on kind of a dark take because Bruce Springsteen, who was in the ad, has come under charge for irresponsible driving. The ad itself, I found a little bit too vague. Again, there's no real in-depth discussion of what we're supposed to be doing. It just says, let's meet in the middle. Let's reunite. I don't think there was any action there.
Yeah, on a side note, he was actually driving a Jeep when it was snowing, and it didn't make sense. He had like the top off and the windows down, and it was like, you can clearly see it's freezing out, so it didn't even make sense, so.
It's not highly realistic. I think they tried really for a very idealistic emotional appeal. It didn't quite make the cut. So, you mentioned earlier, like, you thought Mr. Beast's Honey ad was pretty good. I thought it was good. It was a little bit rough around the edges for the Super Bowl, but I did think it was, more eye-catching in a way, because it did seem very organic and very authentic. He's sitting at his home like all of us aren't, right?
So what did you think about the Uber Eats ad?
I thought that one was sort of, I found that one sort of interesting because it was a little self-referential. They kind of made grand gestures towards the fact that other brands were hiring a lot of celebrity cameos, like, Cardi B, and gestured at, TikTok and other pop culture without actually fully going all the way through and making fun of it. It felt like they were going for a almost parody angle, but again, it just did not come out as very genuine, and so I don't think it succeeded. If they had gone bolder and really gone straight out and called people out, I actually think that would have been more interesting. But as it stands, it's, not that interesting.
Yeah, moving on to the Budweiser ad, they advertised all their other brands and just left out Budweiser, but they literally advertised all their other brands in their line and it just didn't make sense to me. They said they weren't going to advertise and they were going to donate that money to charity, but they just advertised all the other brands. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was a very strange call, really. It didn't seem like quite what they had promised they would do, and I think actually they are getting some backlash on the internet for it. Some people do think that it's kind of a, weird move on their part. And then finally, the other sort of notable one in my mind, there's a string of T-Mobile ads. I was shocked at how many there were, sort of series of them all with similar framework of, good connection is what brings people together, but in sort of a humorous way. I mean, I just thought there's probably a better use of your advertising dollars than doing 3 or 4 different advertisements that may or may not appeal across a wide audience.
Yeah, in the end of the day, who's going to remember that ad, really? And they were just hammering ads upon ads. Like, every quarter, there was a T-Mobile ad. And there was, 2 per quarter sometimes. Like, who's really going to remember those funny ads?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I don't think any of these ads had, a lasting impact, basically. But that's, Tyler and I's quick take on the ads in the Super Bowl, so...
At the end of the day, I think this is a far better use of marketing dollars. Putting it toward doing good in the world would draw positive attention to these brands without seeming fake. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Shareity Speaks. I'm Tyler.
I'm Xiao Xiao.
And we'll see you next week.